Okay, so today's lesson's on feminist theory. Now, feminist theory is split into three different feminist perspectives: liberal feminist, Marxist feminist, and radical feminist. So by the end of this lesson and tomorrow's lesson, you should be able to write a paragraph on all three of these feminist theories. Okay, now on the first slide, you've got an outline of liberal feminists. If you want to note these 3 points down, this is a general idea of what liberal feminists believe. Firstly, they think that gender equality will benefit men as well as women. Secondly, they think that women's position has improved across time through legal changes, although they think there is room for improvement. And equally, they think gender socialisation has got more equal across time, and they believe that has made things more equal. So the position they're in is they think things are getting better but not completely better, and they believe that men need gender equality just as much as women. Okay, so I've split this into gender socialisation to begin with. Now you will see on the next slide you've got images of 3 Disney films, and below you've got 3 links to each of these Disney films. They're in order, so they're in the notes section at the bottom. If I could get you to watch each clip and identify, and you can do this in either in a timeline or a paragraph, how gender socialisation, so the representation of women in Disney films, has got more equal from 1950s to 2010. So types of things you might want to think about is in the 1950s, the girls are shown doing a lot of cooking, a lot of cleaning. Their main aim was to be rescued by a man. So compare how that developed slightly into the 1990s, and then furthermore in the 2010s with the film Frozen. So it's nice for you to watch a little bit of Disney. Then if you feel like adding to that, on the next page we've got an advert from the 1950s, very similar to what you would have looked at in your bridging task, and you could just add a sentence saying again what has changed since this advert was brought in. And one thing that was changed is it's now illegal to use sexist image in advertisements. That law was brought in 2018. Any questions about that, let me know. So that's the first part of liberal feminists. They think gender socialisation is getting more equal. It's not completely equal yet, but it's getting more equal. Now, the second thing we looked at is legal changes. On page 6, 7 and 8, you've got 3 articles, and I would like you to pick one and explain the problems that the women experienced. So whichever one you find most interesting, do that one. Once you've described that, I want you to identify 2 legal changes that have occurred since the 1950s that has meant that women don't have to put up with this. So you might want to think about laws that have helped women in the workplace, so the family's not their priority, things that have meant women don't have to, things that have become legal, which mean women have a choice not to have children, or things that have protected women from domestic violence. And one thing we said in class that you might want to add for one of your laws if it's relevant is in 1991 it became illegal for a man to rape his wife, which seems very late, but that's the fact. Okay, then we skip forward to slide 9. Now if you remember at the beginning of the lesson, we said they wanted gender equality for men as well as women. On the board, on there you've got 3 statistics which shows inequality for men. If you just pick whichever one you think you're going to remember and just note it down and add to that and say this demonstrates that gender equality will improve things for men as well because they suffer in certain areas of society as well. Again, it doesn't matter which one you pick, there's no good or bad one, they're all suitable. Okay, just to test your knowledge, you've got 3 questions on liberal feminists just to go back through your notes. Okay, on slide number 11, you've got 3 images which we can use for evaluation. Now you only need to pick one again, but each of these show that liberal feminists have said laws have made things better for women, but all of these show that these laws are actually quite ineffective. So first of all, domestic violence is illegal, but 2 women die every week from domestic violence. We've got the Equal Pay Act, but there's still a £9,000 pay gap. The bottom one is the most complicated one, and that shows that only 3% of rapes actually end in a conviction. So what I'd like you to do is pick which one that you're going to remember, note it down and say this, and explain that this demonstrates that legal changes are not that effective in supporting women. Okay. On the next slide, slide number 12, you see we've got our title for our second paragraph, which is Marxist feminists. Before you go any further, because they're Marxists, They agree that women are suffering inequality, but what they believe is it's not men's fault. They don't blame it on men like other feminists do. They blame it on capitalism. So they're interested in looking at the ways that capitalism causes inequality for women. And they identify this in 3 different ways. Firstly, these are the 3 things capitalists need on slide number 13. They need a workforce. So what you want to know about there is the women help by providing a future workforce by having children, and they maintain the current workforce by cooking for men and cleaning after them. So you've got a healthy workforce going at the minute, and you've got a future workforce coming. And what's important to remember is women are doing this for free. They're not getting paid by the government to raise these children, so it's serving a need to capitalism for free. So that's important. Right, the second thing capitalists need is compliant workers. Now, if you remember when we studied Marxists before, they said the family was like a haven and de-stressed people to keep people going back and accepting exploitation. Now, radical Marxist feminists take this a little bit further and suggest they've come up with a concept, and this is a key term you have to use in the exam, which is takers of shit. Some people feel uncomfortable swearing in the exam, but in this case it is a key term, so you're okay to do it. So takers of shit, what that means is that women absorb men's anger at capitalism, absorb their frustration of doing difficult jobs, getting exploited by a boss, and they do that through domestic violence. And this seems maybe ridiculous, but what we've got to remember is 1 in 3 women do experience domestic violence. So this suggests that there might be some evidence in supporting that fact. And finally, women, there are times where we are going to need more workers. So it might be times when the economy is doing very well, so we need a bigger workforce, or the big example is World War II. At this time, you have women who are currently at home, and we can bring these women in to fill the position of the workforce and send them back when they're no longer needed. And what that's called is a reserve army of labour. So for each of those points, if I could get you to note those down. Finally, on the last slide, you've got a clip from a film called Angela's Ashes. It's in the notes at the bottom, if I could get you to watch that. And all I'd like you to do is jot down any ways you can see this woman is supporting the needs of capitalism. And then for evaluation, the question is, what has this theory failed to explain? Sorry, I've noticed a spelling mistake. And what this theory has failed to explain is that gender inequality still exists in communist countries. So when Russia was communist, there was still a high level of gender equality. So that's what your evaluation point is for this paragraph. Okay, I hope that helps. As always, drop me an email if you have any questions. Bye.